elevate.
Good morning, beautiful people. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful, illustrious, feel-good Friday. We have lots to discuss today. We have, news that broke over evening that Trump says they think they nicked the new supreme leader in Iran. He says he's badly damaged, but they haven't got him yet. So that's news that we'll touch on a little bit. But more so we're going to talk about is the fact that Mark Carney is saying, well, we're doing all these great investments in the Arctic. But guess what? We're about 2 weeks late telling you that our troops in Iran got hit. And luckily, they're all is good, but our base got hit. We're just going to start telling you about that now. Also, I'm going on vacation, PS, even though we're in the midst of the craziness in the world. And, by the way, we're going to blame Iran for housing prices in Canada. So we have this on top of some stories that are coming out of Toronto and some pleading that's coming out of the religious community in Toronto as well. And what do you got more? Oh, yeah. Debate on oil reserves. We're going to talk about that. And of course, as I promised yesterday, we will have Reg in studio to discuss the Politico article from yesterday that broke. And we'll have a bunch of conversations about that. And saying that, how you doing, big dog? Happy to have you.
Doing good. I had a bit of a rough week because all of my kids were not sleeping.
Nice.
So if anybody is a parent out there, you know too well that when time changes, those little bodies, their little circadian rhythms don't change with the clocks as well. So, their poor kids were all screwed up. And so I'm looking at my wife and she's just like, what are we going to do? Like, we just put your head down, just keep going. I was like, well, isn't that an allegory for Canada right now? Just keep your head down, keep going strong, strategize, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, that's what David Eby had all the children playing around him when he announced the annulment of time changes.
Do you know what, though? I'm like not angry about that. I hate David Eby. Love that policy.
Oh, dude, I don't really care. Like, the policy's fine. It was just the whole setup was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of children dancing around you. It's so odd. And so that was it was funny, man.
Come here, children. Come to Uncle Davey.
Oh my gosh. Oh, dear me. Oh, jumping. So we'll just touch on this before we get into our lead-in for the day. So Trump says he thinks Iran's new supreme leader is alive, but damaged. All right, so this is fascinating. President Donald Trump said he thinks new Iranian supreme leader, and the next Khamenei, whose follower, the former supreme leader, was killed on the first day of the U.S. Israel's war in Iran, is alive but damaged. Khamenei has not been seen by Iranians since his selection on Sunday by a clerical assembly, and his first comments were read out by a television presenter on Thursday. So we'll see what this all means. We'll be following that story as we go on. But if there's any type of truth to this, that's just like, wow. They really are holding to their guns on this saying, no matter who you appoint, we're going to take them out.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. This is getting wild.
They would not spend the millions of dollars, almost probably billions at this point, on fuel, on rockets, on military, and on goodwill of the American people too, right? To then just have, Alatoya 2.0 walk in there and be like, we're doing the same thing. Like, there's no way they're going to allow that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Also, Charlie just threw the band hammer down there. If you folks see somebody coming in here and just being a mess, let me know. I'm going to be a little bit slower today where I'm live in person, but we'll still kick them out.
It's I'll be honest with all of you. I completely rely on moderators to handle all of that. And for me, it's a bit of a nuanced situation with me and how I feel about the comments. Bob Scaffold says, Josh, change that shirt. No, I'm glad you caught on to this. So this is a thing I do every week, folks. I will hold on to one shirt for a whole week. And then I switch the shirt to the next week. That's how I operate. Mainly during the wintertime. Summertime, that will change because it gets hot, it gets sweaty real quick. But wintertime, that's what I do.
Oh, so. Good. I mean, there's a whole minimalist thing on that. I don't know if you've ever,
no.
I'm trying to remember Matt Diavella. He's a big YouTuber and he was like, he only wears a variation of 3 different shirts.
Oh, nice.
And he gets like all the hate and love for it. So maybe
that's how I feel. It's just like you're taking out one less decision that's taking up brain space on you per day. So I can get focused on what I got to do here every morning. So that's how I feel. I'd rather not have to take time trying to figure out what I want to wear and just say, boom, boom, I'm out.
I mean, I'm right with you, but I had a different shirt on this morning, but I had somebody throw up on me. So
Rip.
That's what happens when you have a 2-month-old that's just like, oh, hi, Dad. Like, okay, guess this one's getting changed.
Yeehaw. Let's get into the lead of the story today. So, folks, if you may have seen my YouTube short or my Instagram short from our Instagram reel from last night, where we kind of clipped this out from question period yesterday, where Conservatives are bringing up the issue of what's going on with housing affordability. When will young families, young people get to afford a home yet again? This was brought up in the question period. And let's just have fun, shall we? Let's listen to the response on this.
All Canadians. Will the minister commit to doing that today?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's no surprise that Canadians are challenged with buying homes right now when there's a war in the Middle East. There's no surprise, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those situations like, yeah, he's getting heckled, but you also realized halfway through that he's just like, he realized the words that came out of his mouth. And he's like, oh, that was dumb. That was so stupid. The idea of like, oh yeah, housing affordability is tough right now because of the war in Iran. Because apparently housing affordability was an issue just 9 days ago in Canada.
And I love the moment too where he's just like, well, that was stupid. How do I come back from that? And you just see the brain go, and he's like, I'm going to use this opportunity to pretend like I'm just so offended by the heckling, and instead be like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? How do I fix? You can see the hamster running.
That's exactly what that was. We'll just replay that just to verify. Listen to the facial expression on this, guys. Oh, that was tough. Oh, what am I doing here?
Oh man.
Yeah. So it was one of those situations where it just kind of summed up how we've been seeing this Liberal government's operated the past 10 years and why people get so frustrated. And it's funny because you see it on social media and you even talk to your friends about it, where it's like, why do you not support our government? You hate Canada. You keep tearing apart Canada. And it's because, well, I keep seeing crap like this, folks, where they keep trying to gaslight you and saying, oh, yeah, Iran. That's why you can't afford homes and haven't been able to for the past several years. But all right. Come on, man.
I mean, I would have respected him more if he would have been like, you can't afford homes because of Trump. I've been like, maybe you could at least tie something in there, and it's been happening longer. Like, the war in Iraq. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sit down, Gregor.
Well, the worst part about Gregor Robertson, too, is that he was the mayor of Vancouver when the housing explosion happened there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he knows all about all this. And, anything that guy touches, it just keeps getting worse. But he says a bunch of houses are being built, allegedly.
Yeah, well, when you even look at the Liberal policies around housing and development, it's all to support rental housing, right?
Yep.
Because it's the almighty doctrine from the WEF, which is own nothing, be happy, make sure that Brookfield owns all of the rentals so that you will be, renters forever, and your children will be renters and those children will be renters. Like that's the way that they're going. And then when you look and you're like, why do we have the worst housing starts like ever? Mm-hmm. And it's like, because they're not building single family homes. They don't want you to have single family homes. Those are for the elite. Like those are not for you, the common people. Don't get confused.
Yeah.
But we'll have to say that now before all the bills get in and our overlords kind of mute us.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not allowed. You are not allowed to speak, and they start checking in on our cameras and stuff on our phones. Do we talk about that later? I don't know. I don't want to discourage people yet. All right, we move forward though, because this is one thing that I just want to kind of address. This is more so part and parcel with just the nonsense coming out of the government just recently, and this was probably the most concerning for me because, okay, we live in Halifax here. We have first degree of separation or really immediate close contact, immediate family who are in military, work in the Navy, this, that, the other. So when this news broke from the Conservative Party, the official opposition had a press conference on this. This really ticked me off to hear this. And this was James Bazan discussing what he heard and what the news that came out of our base in Kuwait.
Statement on the news that we learned this morning that Canadian Armed Forces members were attacked on March the 1st in Kuwait during the very early hours of the first parts of the war in Iran. We are extremely, well, first and foremost, we're happy to know that everyone is safe. We've heard that at committee as well, that we were assured that everyone in the Canadian Armed Forces have been safe throughout the region. However, Prime Minister Carney has had multiple occasions and press availability to disclose this fact, that Canadian Armed Forces bases in Kuwait were attacked on March the 1st. We also are very concerned that this has been an ongoing lack of transparency, and it's part of the ongoing flip-flops of Mark Carney and the Liberals on their position on the war in Iran.
So there you have it. Heard through committee, kind of you have to verify essentially where exactly the intel came from. However, all we know is it didn't originate from the PMO. It didn't originate from our prime minister. That our base in Kuwait got hit March 1st. Here we are 11 days later. I guess, yeah, it would have been 11 days. We found out March 12th that this is what happened. This is embarrassing for us. Like, thank goodness that no one was significantly injured or dead from this. But the fact that we didn't hear a dang thing from our government that our base got hit in Kuwait, wouldn't have known about it. Like that really, I'm curious your perspective since you have a background in military, Reg. What was your perspective on this?
So I think there's a couple things at play there. One, the Carney government couldn't even pick a stance on the war. So to come out and say that their base had been hit in Kuwait, they didn't have to release anything because nobody passed. If somebody would have passed, it wouldn't have just been infrastructure, then they would have been forced to actually acknowledge it. But where they couldn't even make up their mind on their stance, and like, of course we didn't hear about it because they didn't know how to frame it. They didn't know how to craft that narrative. So yeah, to not hear anything about it, I think they're just kind of like, we're just going to sweep that under the rug. It was just infrastructure. It's far away from us. We'll just keep that quiet, because I think that there's, a lot of folks who are going, we don't like Trump, but we like the removal of this horrible regime. And they're having that cognitive dissonance. And then as soon as you say, oh, by the way, they took out Canadian infrastructure, then you start to move those people more into that, like, man, Trump is doing the right thing. And you have to realize this Liberal Party built its whole narrative over Trump bad, Trump evil, everything Trump says bad. So it's like you start building up cognitive dissonance there, and people, they can't control that narrative. It spins out of control. So of course they're going to keep that quiet. Of course they're not going to say anything about that. So, because they watched what happened when they originally supported the Americans. Like, their base blew up. Why do you think they flip-flopped so hard? As for the military itself, they wouldn't be allowed to say anything unless their higher-ups kind of said, like, you can say something, because it could be considered a matter of national security. If there was critical infrastructure that was there that was used for spying or intelligence or whatever, and if that was hit, then that would be kind of seen like we'd be seen as weak. So there could be concern there about how we appear militarily. Like, are we still looking militarily strong in that area if critical infrastructure was damaged? So there's a lot of things at play from that angle too. So I think that for the Liberal Party, it's very opportune, just much like pausing for the heckling. They're just kind of like, we're just going to leave that alone. And then if anybody says anything, it's because it was a national security issue. And then they can kind of, because two things can be true, right? It can be a national security issue and at the same time be very advantageous for the Liberals to not say anything.
Yeah. I'd say this is, if I'm a family, I have a family member working that base, I'm livid.
Oh yeah.
Livid right now. And this is where things are at. I was about a handful of weeks ago, I was talking to an individual, my first time meeting them, found out they work in the Navy. And, we were just I was just like, oh, okay, and they work for a pretty significant role in the Navy. And I was like, okay, well, things are getting real. And he's like, yeah, they are. And I had to sit there and watch him interact with his daughters, his wife, and wondering what could happen? What could happen? We don't know. Am I be deployed next week? Are we engaging in this? And this was all during the flip-flopping. And it just really brought things into fruition for me for 2 seconds. I'm like, not only just as Canadians, we're kind of like, come on, man, get your crap together. We need leadership at the moment. But then there's number two, if you're the families of people who are in the military and you have no idea where your country stands on one of the most significant conflicts in the globe right now, I am terrified.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at like the airstrikes that fell over Turkey that like hit like southern Europe, if those would have made landfall, that wouldn't have been an immediate NATO like action into that war, right? And so that means Canada's going too. And I also have friends who are actively at sea right now, like actively at sea in the middle of the ocean, wondering, are we going to get called into this? So you're totally right. And the fact that, the problem is that a lot of, military families, a lot of them are more conservative. And so they're probably looking at this being like, what do we do with this? We've got a liberal, potentially majority that's been unfairly, brought into power that has all the say. They're probably looking at this going, the one saving grace for us right now is that like, the liberals are a bunch of cowards, so they probably wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole. Right. But the challenge, though, is that, yeah, if NATO gets called into this, then we have to act, because otherwise we'd be reneging on our NATO duties, right? And that would have huge repercussions. But as far as the Canadian military goes, we're out-resourced, we're underfunded, we're under prepared for such an event. So it would be a terrifying time to be a part of the Canadian forces right now. And I feel for those people, and I feel for our servicemen, and I hope that they're doing okay and their families are doing okay.
And we support you guys. Like, I think that's the big thing we want to make very clear is our show, we support you and your families the best that we possibly can, because I know you are in a system right now that is not in your favor. We heard the news clippings the reports of Canadian Armed Forces getting frostbite during military exercises joint with the U.S. in the Arctic. How humiliating. Like, we are in a very you are a part of a very messed up system in a situation that I can only imagine what you're feeling and going through right now. And just trust me that we see that, and it's deeply alarming to me.
Yeah, well, it's not the people, right?
No.
It's the kit you're using.
Yeah.
Is ancient.
Yep.
Like, I remember being on those military exercises going like, this stuff is from the 60s. And I was in the forces, I joined in 2009. And so I'm going like, this is older than my parents. Like, why are we still using this?
Right.
And they're like trying to get the kerosene stoves going, and they're like not working, and they're half rusted out. And like, jeez, this is bad, man. This is bad. And I chalked it up to the fact that I was like, okay, I'm a reservist. So
right.
Maybe the Reg Force has better kit. And they did have slightly newer kit, but like, man, this military has been under-resourced, underfunded for so long that I'm hoping that this war wakes the government up and actually gives our men and women in uniform some tools and resources to actually use.
Yeah, that would be critical. And like, let's look to, now that we're on that conversation topic, here was Mr. Mark Carney asked about this whole situation that was going on and why he didn't say anything. And man, his response is just as repulsive as him not saying anything in the first place.
If you can confirm in English if this attack happened, and why you didn't inform Canadian before?
Well, I mean, I'm not the only spokesperson for the government, but I'll just confirm that Canadian forces are, the members of the Canadian forces are all safe and sound. I reinforce, as I said in French, what you know, which is that we are not engaged in these actions of the U.S. and Israel. We're not engaged in offensive actions, and we will not be engaged in those actions.
Wow, there's 42 seconds there. Must have been 40 us. Must have. Every second. I don't know. I'm not the only spokesperson. That's what he had. That was the first thing he had to say in English about that. I'm not the only guy. Bro, you're the damn prime minister. What are you talking about right now? I'm not the only. You are the guy. You wanted to be the guy. You're the guy who was advising Justin Trudeau for a handful of years, and then you wouldn't help him out. You watched him burn. You worked with Freeland to make sure he burned so you could be the guy. Now you are the guy, and now you're a coward. Coward you are. You're the guy. It's on you to speak. You want to be the guy who makes all the business decisions and drives policy to drive money into your business, into your pocket, so you can become a billionaire finally? Well, guess what? You're going to have to start playing the part at some point because we're getting sick and tired of your BS. Done. I'm not the spokesperson. Give me a friggin' break, brother. Sorry, Reg. Go.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I'm just like, I'm laughing because I'm like, this is the equivalent of walking into a department store and the guy going, oh, not my department. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Mm-hmm. You are the guy, the one guy. Come on. You told us you were the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the guy that bringing in a conflict. I'm the guy, when things are challenging, call on me. And now they're like, we're calling on you. Oh,
there's somebody else, right? There's someone else I can talk to.
Close, where are you? I need my talking points.
Seriously. Oh my gosh. You want to be the man, then be the man. But of course you're not. You're a coward, weak-willed, spineless individual who can't say nothing and looks like an absolute jabroni in front of cameras right now. I'm not the only spokesperson. Come on. Let's follow that up with what he is asked later on this in this conversation and these questions from reporters about the fact he's going on vacation. Watch his facial reaction, folks, as it's even brought up that he's going on vacation in Roma.
And just to follow up on that uncertainty, of course, we're just talking about the missile strike on the base in Kuwait, the strike on the base in Kuwait. Canadians are seeing the effects of the war here at home with the price of the pump going up and up and up. And it's been reported that after this trip is concluded, you're going to be on vacation for the next week. What's your message to Canadians who are worried about just the state of everything going? What's your message to Canadians who are worried about
how dare you bring up my vacation going?
Just the state of everything going on, the uncertainty, as you're going to be less publicly visible after this trip is done?
I'll be, first off, it doesn't actually work out to a week. It's the first thing. Secondly, I'll be working through this weekend with the military exercises in Norway, meeting with our partners, meeting with Chancellor Merz of Germany. I'll be meeting the UK Prime Minister on Monday. I will be having a series of conversations during the week. I will be as visible as needed and as connected as always. As well, I would reinforce that one of the strengths of this government is we have a very strong cabinet. And one of the, I would like to think, one of my characteristics as a prime minister is I give authority to my ministers. So there's a reason why you hear a lot from the Minister of National Defense, from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, from the Minister of Public Safety, because they are very much on the front lines of these issues as much as I am. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Is that the soft launch for being like, you're going to see less of me in front of the cameras, and I'm okay with that because I'm just going to be back here vacationing in Europe, probably like even when I'm not on my quote-unquote vacation, still vacationing in Europe, drinking fine wines, remember? Kicking it back with Keir Starmer and, maybe heading over to Germany as well. Mm-hmm. I do have to make my trip to Norway, though, because Brookfield is going a week before. So I have to make sure that everything's set in stone there, So, oh, man.
Yeah, that's exactly. And that, I think that you bring up a very valid point, Liz. That does feel like a soft launch of like, you're just not going to see much of me. Get used to it, Canada. I'm an international person. I'm prime minister, but I'm just here to do deals with a bunch of other individuals that profit me. I don't really give a crap about actually helping what's going on in Canada. Didn't you know that yet? Of course not. They haven't realized yet. The people that voted for him haven't realized this yet, that he's not here for them. But hey, alas, here we are.
Yeah, I also love, too, at the very beginning of this, he's like, it's so good to be home in the Northwest Territories. And I'm like,
okay. When was the last time you showed up?
The last time you were in Alberta, you were like, it's so good to be home in Alberta. I'm like, shut up, man. Like, no.
No.
Every 2 seconds, it's like, this is my home. I'm so proud of my home. I'm like, you don't even know where home is because home is over in a condo somewhere in England. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, for real. Let's hit some super chats here before we move on to the next topic here. All right. Proud Grammy says, morning all. I was on Promethean Action yesterday. I asked for their take on Carney. They said he is their favorite punching bag. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. That's good. I'm a conservative boomer. Says Robertson is my MP. I need to move.
You poor soul. The only thing I can say to you, conservative boomer, is the fact that like Lena Diab is my MP. So I'm right with you here. Feeling the pain.
Oh man. But hey, don't worry, we have a very strong cabinet that can answer all our questions.
Robertson, Diab, they've got it.
Oh yeah, locking it down.
Dream team.
Oh man. Scuba Jode says, just want to say thank you for keeping it real. Josh, Red, you two give me hope. Liberal surge in the polls, ? I see couch potato libs staying home. Cross your fingers. I mean, there's always hope because they're just sometimes like, I don't know, when I think about the Trump threat is what got people off their couches in the last election. Is there a point where that just kind of gets exhausted for people? And there's like, if an election were called today, I mean, you could drum it up again for liberals and they would, but is there enough where people or conservatives are, who's the more demoralized right now? I guess the question to want to go out and vote.
Yeah, I think the conservatives are more demoralized right now, to be quite honest. But what gave me hope was this week watching, I threw a couple feelers out into some Nova Scotia like online forums that are like liberal like cesspools basically. Sorry guys. But anyway, because like Nova Scotia, if you don't know, is very, very liberal, right? So threw out a couple of feelers in there and I was like, so Nova Scotia, I was like, what's our thoughts on natural gas onshore and offshore production? The amount of people coming in there being like, we need to be able to pay for our programs. We need this. If the world's asking for it, there's a war in Iran. We need to be getting it out to market. Why did we not have this 10 years ago? And you had like maybe one or two in there that were just like, but the environment, and another person being like, shut up. Like, we need more solar. Yeah. Like, but overall, overwhelmingly, and it was like getting hundreds of views and likes. And I'm like on a, like I said, a very liberal platform. I'm like, okay, so this tells me that people are actually starting to feel enough pain that the mindset is starting to shift. And I've heard it a couple times where people are like, Canadians are just too resilient in that we'll be like accepting of way, way too much pain, way too much burden. And that we need to kind of like, we have too high a pain tolerance. Right. That we actually need to lower that a bit. But I think we're hitting it. Yeah. I think that within the next bit of time that as everything unfolds, if this war in Iran keeps going on, I think that you're going to see things get really, really ugly in Canada, and then maybe enough so that it forces the Liberal Party to act. Because, I mean, they're going to have a majority government here not too long. And so it's kind of like, what do you do with that once it becomes a thing, right? Yeah. So.
For sure. That's a fair point. Appreciate you sharing that, Reg. Kierler in Canada says, feature topic, if the Liberals gain a majority and invoke censorship bills, how likely will it be that Canada will never see another party in power?
I guess that was a good segue.
Yeah, like, it's close to a good segue. Actually, I wasn't actually planning on talking about that today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I was going to save that for this afternoon.
I meant a good segue in the sense that like what I just spoke of, like, we're going to have a Liberal majority. Yeah. It's going to be, how do you navigate the complexities of criticizing a government around the censorship bills is going to be the question. It's going to be like, everything is going to have to get real strategic. It's not going to be people, like I'm guilty of it too, running on the internet and being like, this government sucks. Like they do. Yeah. But the thing is, we're going to have to be very, very careful about our words because they're going to make it so that it's going to be really, really hard to criticize them. So we're going to have to get smarter about how we do this. And that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Rubaduck says, as a U.S. citizen, to the Canadian service members, thank you for serving your country.
That's the other thing is that so Canadian service members have a long-standing history of exercises in partnership with the U.S. We go down there and train in. I say we as if I'm still there, but like back in the day, we'd go down to down to the southern states, and there would be like massive training exercises that you do together, and then everybody would go have drinks afterwards, and it was like one great big party, which was it was fun. It was a good time. So yeah, like we've always been like lockstep with the United States. They are our brothers, our sisters, our family. To have this new societal view that America is the enemy has kind of been really weird, and obviously probably a huge like hit to the forces who have friends, families, folks that they've exercised with in the past. So yeah, thank you for Rub-a-Duck for pointing that out because it's true.
For sure. Bandit 249 Saw says Carney doesn't want to waste Canadian money on war. It's for Brookfield. For goodness sakes. So true.
We don't have Canadian money for war. Like that's the truth of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like every province is now running a deficit, and the federal government has released like the largest deficit that they've ever released.
Yeah.
Like we don't have money for a war. We'd have to borrow money from China to fund it, and China's not going to give it to us for that. So
true. They will if we try to stab US in the back, though.
Oh yeah.
Papa Bear Sensei says, "Yay, Carney gives authority to his MPs because he uses incompetence to cover up corruption."
There is validity to that, where if he is able to say, "That wasn't me.
Yep.
That was Anita Anand. That was not me. That was Lena Diab." Like, you know what I mean? Like he can totally just absolve himself, and then the liberal base will buy that. They'll eat it up and be like, "You can't blame Carney for that." Like the guy that I banned at the very beginning, he's like, "Blame Carney for the fog, blame Carney for bad weather." And it was just like annoying, right? He just kept like putting all these things, spamming it. But like, that's kind of the liberal based mindset, right? Is that like, oh, you're going to blame Carney for everything. It's like, at the end of the day, he holds the buck. He is prime minister. He has responsibility. When you are leading, you own it, but you know that him saying like, "Oh, my ministers have control," he's going to run that as like an appearance of like diluting power so that others can be elevated. But at the same time, it's like, no, I'm creating scapegoats about every single one of you so that if something happens and the base doesn't like it, I can point to you and you're gone. So,
I mean, we're even seeing that. We saw it with the Iranian situation where there was so much like, well, what do I say? How do I say it? What's going on? And, Anita Anand saying something completely different than Mark Carney on the exact same day. And you're just like, what is going on? That's on purpose, for sure. Proud Grammy says, soldiers behind staring him down. Disgusting. Well, I'll say this. I don't think those are soldiers. I was looking at that image very carefully. I think those are more administrators, people who work desk jobs in the military. I don't think they were soldiers, because I was just looking at some of the body builds, and I'm like, this doesn't strike me as Canadian military. But I could be wrong. Surprise me, because it's a new age apparently with new standards in our military. But
are you body shaming the military, Josh?
Dang straight I am. Dang straight I am. We want meritocracy out here. The Happy Wanderer 95 says the judging of foreign systems in Politico lacks context. Paraphrasing distorts history, how freedom convo was shared abroad. The past is a story we tell ourselves. I question the truth of the article. We'll be getting into that.
Oh, I can't wait.
We'll be getting into that. Just Me Nicole says, watching while working. Has everyone hit the like? Yes, straight. Hit the like. Let's go. Hit that like button. Get those views up, because right now the views are too low for me, man. It's Friday though. I get it. Fridays are a little bit lower. Julie Mantua says, is there a chance a non-conference vote can go through before the by-election? What are your thoughts on this, guys? We looked at the math. Impossible. It's just like mathematically impossible at this point, unfortunately. Mark Gonblanco says, lower the pain tolerance, please. Oil prices over 82 a barrel. It helps Canada, Alberta. Yeah, we'll be. Oh man, there's so much we gotta get into. Okay. Hello from Mission BC from Drayden8. Love to see you. Mark Gonblanco just reminding us that he's again. Hello from Naples. Getting warm, mid-80s daily. A few Canadians are my neighbors. They stay out of politics when I ask about Carney. Of course they do. Worse than Jordan Florida. Elbows up, though. Snooky Smokehouse says, love the channel. Thanks, Reg, for your compassion. Let's go.
Thanks, Snooky.
Mike Stewart says, choose Magna Carta over Magna Farta.
Man, this is what I love Fridays. And I'll tell you why I love Fridays is because The world is like literally on fire. It's not figuratively on, it's literally on fire. There's places of this country burning. There's places of other countries burning. And stupid fart jokes like that is what we need to bring the levity back so that we can all like take ourselves a little less seriously
100%.
and don't lose our sanity. So glad to have you all as a community here.
For sure. Kimmer says 100% on the money this morning, Reg and Josh. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Lucky Dice says, I'm praying that the results of Alberta's referendum vote in April will a wake-up call to the rest of Canada. If Alberta gets its way of independence, the rest of Canada's pain tolerance will be tested. That's true. That's true. All right, we're going to do like a pre-warm-up before we get into the political article, okay? Because I want to have a little debate with you.
I will say that I have time. So
Okay.
we can extend a little bit later if we need to.
Amazing. Unfortunately, I don't.
Oh, no.
But I do have a question about this for stupid Wen Pao Wu. Actually, just for kicks and giggles, because I said I was going to be tracking this. Wen Pao Wu stood up in the Senate to protect to protect all these entities that were called out in the Jamestown article yet again. Shout out Wen Pao Wu. Goodness gracious.
It is bad enough that foreign entities are sowing disinformation and interfering in our democracy. What is worse is that Canadians, including parliamentarians, are aiding and abetting these harmful acts. You might think that these folks would have to register with the Foreign Influence Transparency Registry, but the registry appears to exclude non-state actors, which to my mind are the biggest, most dangerous source of disinformation and interference in Canada today. Some of you will be inclined to take the Jamestown report at face value. Let me be clear. If you have evidence that laws have been broken, report it to the authorities. But if you suspect a Chinese-Canadian organization is a malign foreign agent for the Chinese government simply because it celebrates Chinese culture, promotes trade and investment, has ties with Chinese organizations, or agrees with some of the positions of Beijing, you are promoting a modern form of Chinese exclusion. It is bad and
Get this guy out of the Senate, bro.
I'm like, is this where he like? Is this his admission? Like, is this what we're seeing right now? Like, is this Love Is Blind reunion but Senate version? Like,
Oh my goodness.
come on, Nick Lachey, come on out and like, you.
This is crazy.
I can't believe that's real.
Dude, I can't, like, it just shows you how there's literally no repercussions in our Senate whatsoever. He can come out in our Senate and say this stuff multiple times, pretty much admit that he's running cover for the CCP and just laugh in your faces. Like, when was the last time he ever said anything to protect Canadian interests in the Senate? I don't remember it.
Never.
Don't remember it. And so he was even talking about the Iranian situation yesterday or a couple days ago. And it was like, I remember when you got real quiet about the Uyghur Muslim issue in China. Like, you didn't say nothing. You were deflecting from that. But of course, we're talking about the Iranian issue and what's going on with the potential or schools getting blown up and stuff. I'm like, this guy is so ridiculous, man. Sorry. I had to throw that in because I was just like, that's crazy. But Wen Pao Wu watch, here we go. Oh my gosh, what a guy.
I just can't believe that. I can't believe that's real. Like, that he actually got, like, that's the audacity of the Senate, right? Because, I mean, it's bought and paid for by the Liberal Party of Canada. Yeah. They should just, like, write that at the bottom of every Senate disclosure.
Sponsored.
But, yeah, sponsored by the, yeah. I'm Trudeau and I approve this message. Like,
there you go.
Just a second, Katie.
Seriously.
But, man.
So I want to bring this up because this is a big debate. And this goes back to something I was discussing yesterday about how the Liberals will use facts, but use them to disguise what they're actually trying to do. So they had this article yesterday. It says, Canada will do its part to help IEA release of oil reserves, Hodgson said. And Andrew Scheer says, what a ridiculous and dishonest headline. Liberals claim Canada will do its part on release of oil reserves. What? We are the only G7 country that has no oil reserves to offer. Not a single of the 400 million barrels of oil that the countries that are releasing will come from Canada, despite having the world's fourth largest supply beneath our feet. And that is a truth statement. We don't have actual tanks that we put oil in. But the other side of the debate is what Liberals are saying. And this is what's said right here. Is a strategic, this is from Corey Hogan, Liberal MP. A strategic oil reserve isn't sitting in a tank. It's stored in a vast underground caverns, often hollowed out at salt formations. It's basically a fast well. Canada doesn't have one because we have, well, wells. The IEA puts on countries an obligation to hold 90 days of imports in reserve. That is why the rest of the G7 has reserves. Unlike them, we are a net exporter. We produce far more than we consume. In the context of our market and the current disruptions brought on by the war in Iran, Canada will do its part by optimizing that production on those exports. So this is kind of the debate and conversation, right? Is yes, like we don't have like actual tanks that we put oil in to hold in. It's because we rely on the oil sands. The issue, though, by relying on the oil reserves that we have here in Canada is when stuff like the stuff Iran happens, it actually takes us time to have to pull the oil out, refine it, and then get it to market. And that takes weeks, sometimes months, depending on the situation. So both sides are right in their, being frustrated with what's happening. It's just like the debate is, should we have both? Should we have our oil sands and also have like tanks that we hold oil in case of emergency?
So what I think is interesting is that there's also a little bit of a correction that needs to happen with Andrew Scheer. So England actually doesn't have tanks of oil. What they do is they regulate that all their suppliers hold a certain percentage back in case of emergency. So it's like they don't really have a national reserve either, but they do kind of legislatively. So it's one of those things because I was seeing a bit of it and they're like, England doesn't have reserves either. What are you talking about, Andrew Scheer? I'm like, you're right-ish, right? And so, but the problem is that it's exactly what you said. Like, even though you're looking at the strategic reserve of Canada it's in the ground, I'm like, well, you could say that about anything. Yeah. You can say, well, we have a strategic reserve of copper, nickel, and palladium because it's all on the ground. We just have to mine it out. It's right there. Like, that's not a reserve. It's like, it's the liquidity of it, right? Like, how fast can we move that? And right now, not fast. Yeah. And especially if we have to pump it through the States to get it to Tidewater because we can't seem to get a pipeline from Alberta to the shoreline of either New Brunswick or Nova Scotia. So to me, looking at that, I'm like, I actually think the problem of the strategic reserve is not the issue so much, because I can get on board with like, yeah, it's in the caverns. Yeah, it's going to take us a month to access, whatever. The fact that you now have to pump it through a separate country to get it to Tidewater, that's if you get it to Tidewater, because like we have to realize is that we get the bulk majority of our oil on the East Coast from the US and they get to control the price of that. Yep. Like, I think I'm looking at this going like, there's a strategic failure here in our whole infrastructure. Reserves is just like tip of the iceberg. It's mobility and liquidity that is the problem. Yeah.
And I think that's it. And that's what comes back down to this conversation where liberals are dunking on conservatives for saying, well, look, we do have reserves. It's just in the ground. It goes back to the issue of how this Liberal Party is going to be operating. And that's why we have to really be on top of criticizing and being very specific in what we're criticizing, because this is what they do is they'll use facts and dress it up as this one thing versus another. And this is another one of the situations where it gets the base saying, yeah, well, conservatives, you're idiots. We do have reserves. And it's like you have to be very precise in your criticism of this government because they're going to use everything they can to wiggle out of this stuff.
Yeah. And so, you know what? Who cares if we have an assault cavern or in a big metal tin? Yeah. If you can't move it, it's useless.
Amen to that, brother. All right, folks. The moment we've all been waiting for.
Okay.
The Politico article from yesterday, as I said, we were going to address this conversation today with Reg here on the show. And one thing to kind of let's place this all into context before we start, right? So, left-wing article from a publication that co-sponsored the Liberals' Budget Day party in November. The individuals they say they interviewed were 6 Conservative MPs, 1 GOP spokesperson, well, not a spokesperson, but someone who works in the GOP, and then people that are tied and well known of the Canada-U.S. trade, which we don't know who those people are. We don't know if they're Liberals or Conservatives or whoever what their backgrounds are. And that's kind of what was used as information to fill out this article. And what I said yesterday was you need to take all those details in and view it through that lens. There is definitely elements of things that should be pulled out of this to really think about and talk about, and others that you can just toss away. And so that's why we have Reg here together. That's where we're going to have the conversation because he feels a very specific way about this article, and we'll have a nice, fun conversation about that today.
I think the chat, you guys need to get ready with your comments and your things because you're all going to hate me.
Baby.
I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. But I don't think I've really changed my tune too much over time. So if you've been watching this show for a number of years, you'll understand
There'll be no surprise.
There'll be no surprises here. Yeah. How do you want to untangle this, I guess?
Well, let's start with this actually. Let me see if I can pull this up. We'll start here as we'll use this as the pretext to a conversation today.
Why does the poly market have Pierre at 93% in January? Why?
Because that was before Trump took office. And then Trump came to office, started going a literal trade war with Canada. It galvanized the people of Canada. They inserted this new candidate, and they're like, let's rally around this guy.
Wait a minute.
Because we're going against Trump.
So
Because people are more willing to rally against an enemy like Trump.
Now you're at a place.
Than a vanilla candidate like Mark Carney.
Now you're at a place. Is Trump going to do Trump all the time? Is Trump going to be Trump all the time?
Yes.
Is Trump going to do what Trump does all the time?
Yep.
Yes. So is this more a credit to Carney's diplomacy on knowing how to handle Trump and a shot at Pierre for not knowing how to handle Trump? Does the credit go to the candidate that knew how to handle Trump better than the other? Do you give credit to Carney for learning how to deal with Trump versus Pierre not knowing how to deal with Trump?
Sure, I'll give him some credit.
That's the argument. So the argument here is not on the fact that Canada is more progressive or not. The argument is on the fact that Pierre mishandled Trump. The same way DeSantis mishandled Trump. It's a mishandling of Trump. Why is the...
So that's the pretext. That's what we'll start is the difference between how Carney attacked the Trump issue versus how Poilievre did in the last election.
So I think the Liberal Party weaponized the Trump issue, right? Mm-hmm. The thing that I think, when we've talked about this and agree on, is the fact that there was such a misstep by the Conservative Party. I think that it was almost hubris where they were like, we're going to get, not only going to get a majority, we're going to get a super majority. It's like the tortoise and the hare, like from like childhood, right? It's like, we're going to win. Don't worry. We can take a nap on the whole Trump thing. Like, look at the polls. We're killing it. Right. There's no way we can lose. Too big to fail. And then you insert Carney there and the liberal propaganda machine just went wild. And instead of the Conservative Party stepping into that vacuum when Trudeau left and they were trying to get their Carney installed, because I don't even believe that he was elected. He was installed.
Yeah.
That is when Pierre should have acted. And you and I sat at this table, looking at these cameras, screaming for the Conservative Party to act, to do something, to get on that. And we talked to folks within the Conservative Party, and they're like, "Oh, he can't do that. He just can't do that. He doesn't have the mandate. He's not prime minister. He can't do that. He's going to get labeled a Trump supporter." And we saw what happened when Danielle went down there. Danielle went down there, and people hated her. I'm like, you need to be bigger than the hate. Mm-hmm. You need to have that stomach to do this, and they didn't, and they lost. Because I think that they're right. I think they totally mishandled the Trump situation.
Mm-hmm. So it goes back to kind of some of the stuff that we're seeing where allegedly from the people in and around the White House, within the GOP, are saying we don't even know who Poilievre is. We saw the Apple video, and that's kind of the last we saw of him. We just know he had this Apple video and that he was supposed to win an election that he didn't end up winning. And we just see that a guy who's just going to lose politely is allegedly with the words that were being used. Again, I will say this about this Politico article too. There was a lot of terms used that are very similar to what the Liberal Party has used.
Oh, yeah.
So just keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind where it's like, as I said, there's things you have to very carefully extract out of this article and things you have to really take into account. Is it true? We don't know. However, what I will say is if it is true, or at least there's some degree of truth to the White House kind of being ambivalent to Poilievre at this point, as I said, he's got battles on both sides of the border right now. He's dealing with the media nonsense up here, and as well as got a battle to prove himself south of the border too, that he can be someone that can be a good partner and as well as be a serious partner.
I look at this and I think, when you consider the population of Canada and the GDP of Canada and all the things that are going to matter to a businessman like Trump, Canada's like a smaller California.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And we see how he deals with the governor of California.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at it and I'm like, that's our comparator here. And so when he needs to talk to Trump and the Conservative Party needs to address that nation, they need to do it in a serious way. They can't be up here kind of taking the same talking points of the Liberal Party. And you're totally right. The Politico article is it's heavily laden with language that is like an attack on the conservatives the whole way through it. Like, that these people saw this and like, this is my chance to write that strongly worded letter that I've been waiting to do. So like, that it's like completely biased when you read it, but it doesn't mean that there's elements that are untrue. Yeah. And I think that like, that was the critical reflection that I think did not happen with the Conservative Party. And I think that there was elements of the Conservative Party that like really kind of like buried their heads in the sand over all this, and things that like I said, that we've been screaming forever. Like when we were talking about going on the Joe Rogan podcast, if that happens, if it doesn't happen, who knows? But we were like, you need to do that. You need to start winning the culture war. You need to get out there. Don't release your platform at the last minute. Put it out there first. Be first. If you're Canada first, then be first. And this party did not do that. Whether that's because they were getting bad advice from Jenny Byrne, whether that was because they were worried about how the liberal media was going to slander them, I don't know. Maybe all of the above. Either way, this plan failed, and they've had a year now to show us that they've got something new, and they haven't yet. I think that like it's been very, very slow. We criticize the Liberal Party for how slow they are on their developments. I think the Conservative Party owns a lot of criticism too. They've got people in their party that should not be there. They are like not calling out issues that need to be called out. They're focusing on things that are not going to like really bring the people together. They have not been bold enough. And so when I read the Politico article, even though coming from a liberal viewpoint and vantage point, I'm like, there's a lot of it that isn't wrong, and there's a lot of it that the Conservative Party really needs to do some soul searching on, because I can't keep losing, because what's going to happen is like, if you keep losing for us, you're going to lose us. And all of the bright conservative people in this country are either going to go to Alberta and vote for independence and you're gone, or we're going to go down to the States and go make more money and live happier, wealthier, healthier lives, because we can't keep living under like this regime that we've got that's so undemocratic that they would steal a majority.
Sure. I'll throw this at you. With all that being said, what are your thoughts on the moves that Poilievre has now made with going to the UK, Germany, talking to these business interests, and then now going to the US, Texas, which is huge oil country, down there, Michigan for autos, and then doing the speech in New York City?
I love it, but it's too little too late in my mind. I'm like, we're already heading for a majority. Like it's almost all but defined. I think that it's good, but I also think that like he hasn't done enough work at home to repair the relationships with the premiers in this country. Like, you have premiers in this country that you could activate to put pressure on the federal government here that you've not built bridges with. I don't care if you don't like Tim Houston. There's a lot about Tim Houston I don't like either. There's some things that I do like about Tim Houston. You need to put that aside. You need to go to his office. If he doesn't want to meet with you, you make him meet with you every single day, and you get aligned on things. If you can't work with people you don't like, you don't deserve to lead that party. And I think that going to all these other countries, fantastic, lovely, too little too late in my eyes. The people you need to go talk to are the people within your own borders right now. And you're not doing that. What's wrong? Danielle Smith is your friend. We get it. You need to be talking to Scott Moe. Scott Moe, why are you backing up, this liberal government? We know that canola is important. There's bigger things than canola right now. Doug Ford, you're a goof. But my God, you were right about this like Chinese spyware in these cars. Why are you walking it back? Like, go talk to the folks who are trying to organize in the conservative part of BC and say, like, we see David Eby's running amok there. Like, how can we support you to get the conservative bid in place so that we can build a strong conservative voice in BC to kind of combat this ridiculousness? Nova Scotia, we see that you're actively talking about, your natural gas reserves, the fact that you gave $30 million out of a deficit budget to Dalhousie University to develop your natural gas. We see that. How can we make this easier for you? How can we support you? They are not going to provinces and they're not going to people and saying, what do you need from us and how can we help you? They're going to provinces and saying, why aren't you supporting us and why aren't you donating to our party? And that is why I'm mad at the Conservative Party. That's my crash out for today.
Gotcha. So what I understand is, you said, making these trips abroad too little, too late. You should be focused now on building those bridges here. So what I'm gathering, so just so that we can try to make sure we keep a consistent frame of mind here, is what I'm gathering is he's focusing on the right things just at the wrong times.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right thing, wrong time. The time right now is international stuff. It's past. Unless you are working with a province to get an international partnership developed, like it's right thing, wrong time. Right now, we know that we're in majority territory. How do you combat a majority federal government when you're an opposition party? You have no voice in Ottawa. They're going to ram through every ridiculous bill that you can possibly imagine. We live in a federalistic country, society, democracy. How do you win in a federalistic setup if you have an overarching government here that is going to run amok? You activate the power of the provinces, because in our Constitution, the provinces and the federal government have equal power, not one over the other. They have equal power. That's why we have a federalist country. Use that. If you can't remember that, then you've already lost.
Interesting. Let's go to the chat. See what people are saying. Oh, jumping. All right. Okay. Let's go. Mark says, keep up the great work you do, Josh and Reg. Let's go. Jay English says, thank you guys for doing the live shows. Really brings the community together. Oh, I'm always happy to do it. Libby T says, if they get their majority, then they can blame Conservatives for the decline in Canada. Maybe it will wake up the sleepers. Or they can't blame the Conservatives for the decline in Canada. Maybe it'll wake up the sleepers. Yep. And Marcon Blanco says, Trump is the only force holding up Western ways. Jay English says, you're absolutely right, Reg. I'm having the same thought right now. At West or down South, that is the question. Mark also follows up with, the people are being bypassed completely, Reg, question mark?
I think that, the people are completely being bypassed. I think democracy at a federal level, as I don't want everybody to be like, Reg, it's all doom and gloom. You hate our country, blah, blah. No, I hate what's going on. And I think that every party owes blame in this, that we have not looked at floor crossers and said, what is the worst case scenario that we could, because every single party has had them happen in the past. Never have we ever seen it weaponized to be able to create an illegitimate federal government. So I think that everybody's kind of waking up to it now going, oh, maybe this is a bad policy. Maybe we should rewrite this. But they only ever say that when they're not in power, right? Yeah. So this is where I think that when you are in power as a government, you have to think about what are the pieces of legislation or the customs conventions that we have right now that could be weaponized against me if I'm not in power. And they're not thinking that way. So the Liberal government certainly isn't thinking that way with all the bills that they're relying. No. It's like, my God, if this government changes, they're in for a rude awakening.
Perfect.
Nylock there.
All right. Now, Reg, come to Alberta. Join the Freedom Trade.
Send me my sweatshirt, man. Yeah. Josh said that you got some nice sweatshirts. So I was like,
they are nice.
Send them my way. I'll wear one.
There you go. Michelle C9I says, we have to accept the Conservatives failed in the last election. It doesn't mean Conservatives can't win in the future, but they have to be bolder, more strategic, and Conservatives need to stop attacking the party at every turn. That's fair.
You're not wrong. Yeah. You are totally not wrong. Like, navel gazing isn't going to help anybody, and we get into an analysis paralysis. But if you don't do the actual diagnostic of something and make a change, then I lose faith. And I think that a lot of conservative voters are like me and lose faith too. Like I said, I'm not denying what Pierre is doing right now is not what we should be doing. And that's what we've been calling for. And we're happy to see it. And I'm glad, and I salute the Conservative Party for the good work that they're doing right now. I just think that the time for that is it's a little bit late. And so, you know, we need to say, okay, we recognize that was the right thing to do 6 months ago, a year ago. It's lovely that you're doing it right now. Good job. But we have bigger fish to fry. Like, you know, we can put out the fire on the lawn after we put out the fire on the house. So the fire in the house right now is, like I said, we need to activate the provinces because we know we're going into territories where we have a federal majority that is not the Conservative power. They don't have any power in that. So it's not a give up. It's a re-strategize.
So what are your thoughts then on the fact that really the big reason Poilievre's doing what he's doing right now is to essentially establish in the Canadian mentality that he can be prime minister. He is prime ministerial. You still, with that framing, still think that, yeah, like it's just like that time has passed to do that.
I think that we're heading towards 3 years of Liberal reign. Do it in the last year, maybe do it in the second year. Right now, we are in crisis mode, right? We have so many bills before us that are going to make life so much more difficult to be a Conservative. And we are also facing down some huge economic strains that, like, we have to be strategic about where we're putting our energy. And I think that right now, like, looking prime ministerial is great. And I think that if you have time for that, good. But like, frame it in the way that you're supporting the provinces. Right. So if you are talking to Tim Houston in Nova Scotia and saying, Tim, what is it that I can do to help Nova Scotians? And he's saying, well, we really would like to get our hydrogen moving, or we'd really like to make a deal with whoever. He'll say, great, I'll go to Germany and talk to them about that dead hydrogen deal that we had. Like, why did it die? How do we fix it? Or, you know, you're having a really hard time with your natural gas. Okay, like maybe we can talk to, I don't know, Great Britain about the fact that they want to stop importing natural gas from the Gulf states. How do we get a LNG terminal built on your, you know, Dartmouth Tidewater there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it needs to be strategic in a way that it's like, not that you're just looking prime ministerial. It has to be actively doing something to work with the provinces. So you build up the provincial support to kind of push back against the federal government, because this federal government is going to be ruthless. So we need to be smart.
For sure. Sunasol Silver says, I'll be honest, Pierre's move is too late for what he did with EU and USA. That should have been done last year. I'm sorry, Chad, but GTA and Quebec choose their hatred of Trump over Canada.
That's not wrong, right? And so something else that I kind of like talked about this week with folks was the fact that it's not an urban-rural divide. It's a homeowner versus non-homeowner divide. When you look at the GTA and Montreal and those areas, like there's the home ownership levels are so much farther down the line than they are in the rural parts of the country. And so things that would normally affect homeowners doesn't ring true for those who are in the GTA. Like, you look at Halifax and Tax Me Daddy that you'd put out there. Like, bro's probably living in a rented unit that is then underneath a ban basically on raising the rent. So when the city goes, how do we raise revenues? Well, we increase taxes. The people who feel it are the people who are not in the city core. It's not the bulk of the population. It's going to be everybody else who did not rent or does not live in the city core. So that's what's happening on a larger scale. When you look at Canada and you look at who votes Liberal and who votes Conservative, it's your homeowners in the rural parts of Canada that are voting Conservative because they can see the impact of taxation and the impact of these laws on them directly, and it's hidden in the GTA. So that's a nut that the Conservative Party really needs to crack, and I don't know how they do it. If I knew, I would offer up suggestions. I think it has to do with affordability and figuring out the affordability policies. Shout out the survey.
Yeah.
But that's where I think it leans.
I mean, too, like I think about even someone like my sister. My sister is pretty, for the most part, pretty left-leaning. However, voted for Poilievre in the last election because affordability was such a hard-hitting issue for her living in Toronto right now as a young woman. So, yeah, for sure. Jessica Francis says, Pierre would be amazing PM. Unfortunately, I don't know if he can bring them over the line. If not him, I would vote for Melissa Landsman. Oh. Here's the thing. Is Melissa's, I like Melissa too. She's a dog. And I think that's the issue that we're seeing is for whatever reason, Pierre struggled to transition from being a pit bull to looking statesman-like that essentially being the official opposition. Like, he was so good at being just being that dog. And I think Melissa would end up running into the same issue, unfortunately, because she is an absolute dog. I've had numerous times to chat with her. She's awesome. She's very like straight to the point, knows her stuff, but that would be I think she'd run the same issue, unfortunately.
Yeah, you have to have complementary folks, right? You have to have the statesman with the pit bull because you need to have somebody who can bring the teeth in the fire, and then the other person who can like calm the masses down and make them not feel so overwhelmed or inflamed, I guess.
For sure.
Bring the fire with the water, I guess.
Yeah. Here we go. Timbit Operator with a $50 super chat.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Says, I think you are wrong. Realistically, Pierre is up against bad media, and the provinces are also against the media. Look at how they frame Alberta. This is what Ontario voted for, and people need to feel the pain before waking up. What do you say to that, Reg?
I agree that you are up against the media. 100% you're up against the media. But if there was any proof in this week throwing out conservative ideas to liberal people and watching them say yes, I think that like you have to make it about the issues and not about the party. And I think that even though outside of Alberta, outside of downtown Calgary, like Danielle Smith is painted as like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like she's loved by people in Alberta, and you can see that. So I think that like you got to shut out the noise and say, okay, what am I doing within this province? What am I doing to make this work? And I think media be damned. They're gonna call you Trump light. They're gonna call you Timu Trump. They're gonna rip on you any way they can.
They're gonna do political articles saying you're not close enough to Trump now.
Yeah, exactly. You can't win with the media, so screw them. Who cares? Call me whatever you want to call me. And I think that that's the courage that we need to start seeing, is that like forget the polls, forget the noise, do what you know is right, and people will see that
for sure.
If you truly believe that people won't see that, you need to go. I think that then you've lost faith in your fellow Canadians. Media is bad. Media is brainwashing people, but I think that people are still smart and good at the end of the day.
I believe most people are good. Funny Crazy Production says, Pierre being too late. I don't think so. Look at the campaign manager last year. If he had this new guy in, then I think we'd be in a different position, which is talking about Steve Outhouse replacing essentially Jenny Byrne.
Agree. I do agree. If you would have had him in there, I think this would be a whole different show, whole different conversation. I think that Jenny gave bad advice there. Do not rehire her.
Jenny may have been the source of hubris in the party, unfortunately. Marcon Blanco says Canada should be talking post-Iran strategy. This is very significant. Fellas, total dominance from USA and puts new pressure on idiot Carney. I love Mark so much. He's funny. That's an interesting thought, though. Like focusing on what things look like post-Iran. It's tough to say because you don't know what the lay of land is going to look like after Iran, because that does have such an impact on the world. So, but I get you. Mark also says the world changes once Iran is free. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It certainly does.
It does change things.
Certainly does.
Especially all the stuff that they're connected to, for sure. Proud Grammy says, do you think Pierre struggles with dealing with the elites? Not a chance. I think that's where he shines the most, is really going at them. The problem is like how to deal with the lashback you get from the elites because you're going at them so hard. I think that's where the struggle is right now, because they're dirty. They're dirty, man. The Laurentian elites, man, what they do is just gross. And you have to be like, they don't play by the rules. We're seeing that right now. People are saying, well, Mark Carney, technically, it's allowed that all these floor crossers are coming in to form a majority. It's technically allowed. We never thought we'd see this in our country's history. And so like I talked about this the other day when the Conservatives had the opportunity to ban floor crossing in our system. They said no. And, I actually stood here and was like, yeah, that was an opportunity for them to own that, and they didn't. And that was, again, over a decade ago at this point. However, my other side of arguing that situation is the fact that no one ever thought we would be at this point where someone would act in such bad faith with our system that you would use floor crossing to essentially put together a manufacturer majority. Like, that part is what is really rubbing people the wrong way.
Yeah. As for my take on how he works with the elites, I actually don't think he works well with the elites, because he's very principled and everything that you've mentioned, like the elites are for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what PR is about.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think that because he comes so hard against the elites, I think that it works not in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, how do you strike the balance between integrity and then like just quelling that mess, right? So it's kind of like, I think it's a little more gray than what he, I don't know. I don't know what his relationship with them. I can't comment on that because like, I don't know.
I don't think you need a relationship with them. I'll be honest with you on that. I don't think it's necessary. Nylock says, Reg, would you do a survey for Alberta on what's going on?
100% I will.
All right. You guys
send me the details and I'll see what I can do.
Perfect.
I have to say that I had quite a few folks from Alberta that donated to help pay for the survey tools, and they're not cheap. So I really appreciate you guys for donating to help make that possible. For sure I would do something for Alberta.
Jessica Francis says, I think Lanceman would pull a lot of the female voters away from Carney, especially with how dismissive he is towards female reporters and his condescending attitude. The thing is, the female reporter situation is not, people don't care about it. Like people, it's because they don't even know. Because it's such a nuanced interaction at times that the only people that talk about it are people like us and people in the media and reporters who are experiencing it. But the regular person is just not really seeing it. And so people like you talk to the majority of women right now, they still think Carney is like the guy that supports them. Like they really do still think that. So it's crazy.
Well, he didn't make a comment about women's biological clocks, Josh.
Oh my gosh. The biological.
I know, right?
Like,
it's so wild.
People are so stupid.
Let's not talk about biology.
Yeah. We don't want that in Canada. We don't like talking about reality.
Yeah, but trust the science.
Yeah, trust the science.
just not biological science.
Yeah, we don't like that. Bandit249 says, everyone around the world knows that Trump didn't win this second term by caring what the liberals or the media thinks.
Amen. I'm like not religious and I'm throwing an amen. Like that is what the thing is, right? He doesn't give a rat's about the media. The one thing I will say about that though is that the United States media apparatus is very vastly different than the Canadian media apparatus. They have a defined left apparatus and a defined right. And so CNN will run amok about you, but then Fox News will like prop you up. So we just don't have that in Canada. And they're actively putting in things to make sure that never, ever occurs, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, go back and watch Travis Donraj's interview and you'll understand. So, yeah, I do believe, though, the heart of that, like, you will never win the media. 100% you're not going to win the media.
For sure.
So.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll leave it there, folks, because I got to run. But this has been good. Super Chat's been great. General Chat is always looking beautiful at all times. I think this was a good discussion. It's always good to have good, firm discussion on these issues, and it's always a pleasure, y'all. So whatever it is you're doing, whether you be on the treadmill,
going to work,
or having a nice coffee watching us doing your thing, whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are, we love you. We're out. Peace. Oh, no. $20. I don't lack faith in the conservatives. Okay, sorry. Last Super Chat came in. It's $20. I don't want to cut them off here. I don't have lack of faith in the Conservative Party. The cons voting numbers show that Trump used to sway people. What would you have done if you were his campaign at this time? How would you sway Ontario or BC?
So I'm trying to piece together a bit of what. So the cons voting numbers show that we don't have lack of faith in the Conservative Party. What would you have done if you were his campaign at this time, like last year or right now?
I think last year.
Oh, last year? Oh, I would have walked down to America.
Yeah.
Like we said that. Yeah. I would have been like on the first plane down to Washington to like talk about our issues and form a relationship before the Liberals ever installed their guy.
Yeah.
Take the wind out of their sails. I mean, they took axe to tax from us, so take their thing.
True.
Take Trump.